Hey gang, it's your GM Drakeen here with another homebrew. So today we're going to talk about everybody's favorite subject, magic items. So I wanted to talk about this in regards to how I determine what magic items are in the game and what players find depending on their actions. And I'm going to get into more specifics regarding this because I feel like it's an important part of the game, and I feel like there's a lot of fog regarding, like, I guess, players and what the DM is going to allow and blah blah blah. So I want to be very precise about what I do in my game. So here it is. So I use the standard magic items tables in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Now, this table here I invented because, one, uh, in the Dungeon Master's Guide tables, that was 2014, and they printed, you know, God knows how many magical items. So I found it necessary to split things up into categories like this, and I got this idea from first edition Dungeon Master's Guide. It kind of does the same thing. Um, so each of these is a separate table. Potions and consumables. What's that? That's obviously potions, and I also count consumable items like this. This is from the Sane Magic Items guys that you guys have seen me reference this. You can see there's other items on here besides just potions, right? Um, Universal solvent, things like that. Now necklaces would be under necklaces, but in general, anything consumable, right? Scrolls, pretty self-explanatory what that is. And then all of this stuff here, clothing, jewelry, all the way down to miscellaneous magic, is pretty much all one thing. This is obviously your belts of strength and uh, you know that sort of thing. Boots, elven kind, cloaks of displacement, gloves of archery or whatever, helms of telepathy, bracers of defense, goggles of night, necklaces of fireballs like the one I just showed you, and rings, rings of invisibility, all those things. Now, rarity is something I'll get to in a moment. Trinkets is kind of little items like Aeon stones and stuff like that, so that's trinkets. And then miscellaneous magic is everything that doesn't fall into those categories except instruments and tools and containers. And tools and containers is obviously like bags of holding. Instruments is obviously musical instruments. Da, da, da. And then rods, staves, and wands. Blah blah blah. And then armor and shields, swords and weapons. So I roll a d100 now. I use the normal magic items tab in the Dungeon Master's Guide. So if it determines you have items, I roll for those items. So I use those tables. But then I roll again. So if you got an item on the table from the Dungeon Master's Guide, I roll a table for my guide. So I'm giving you, uh, I guess, twice the number of normally found magical items. Now, if the table on the Dungeon Master's Guide says you don't get one, or you find treasure without a magic item, or a layer without any magical items, I roll on this table anyway once because I figure you should find something. It just makes sense if you find someone's lair that there would probably be something there, even if it's just a common item. So, percentage wise, I want to talk about um, that for a second. So, let's just highlight all these areas here. So, 30% basically consumables, another 40% for armor and shields and weapons and miscellaneous weapons and the like, and then 25% sort of miscellaneous magical items, and then 5% rods, wands, and staffs. Now, obviously, you're a DM, you can adjust this for your games as you want, but everything pretty much falls into one of these categories. And then for commonality, I just roll 2d6 to determine the commonality. If it's, 6 or lower, it's a common item. Um, but it does happen. I just gave out a very rare item in my last session. So you can definitely get get lucky. Um, but also, I wanted to give 40% to armor, shield, swords, and weapons simply because I feel like melee uh, needed some love. I feel like they could just got some with the Player's Handbook 24, but this is, I did this before that was released. I don't think I'll change these percentages, but I felt like, you know, that's, you can choose what you want to emphasize in your games and what you don't, right? So maybe you want more rings in the game. There's definitely quite a few magic rings, but I also feel like, those types of items are pretty niche. Like they're very niche items. There's not tons and tons of magic rings around, right? But there do tend to be, I feel like, more, you know, magic weapons, magic armor, magic shields. So this is kind of like how these things are determined. But like I said, no, somebody just got a very rare magic cloak recently, so it can happen. 25% chance is not nothing. And then I guess the least frequent are the wands. And I did actually find a wand recently. Give a wand out recently, so that can happen too. They're just not as you know. There's just not a ton of magic staves and wands around. I mean, there just aren't. At least in my games, anyway. So you can emphasize what you want as a DM, but I hope that clears things up. So I roll on the again. I roll on the whatever the CR dictates table for the dungeon. I roll on that table, and if you get magic items, I give you whatever magic items you get on that table. I roll again on my table, so you get twice the number. And if it indicates there's nothing, then I roll once. So there's something there. And that's pretty much it for magic items. Now I'm going to get into also normal items because there's quite a few normal items that maybe aren't magical but are pretty damn good to find in my opinion. So I'll probably have another video about that. But these are my games. I hope that shed some light on kind of behind the DM screen. Hope to see you at the gaming table. Take care.